Here. Aaron Jennings.
Here.
Roger Edwards. Present. Susan Vaness. Present. Danielle Yarte.
Here.
Crystal Ayers. Shayla Herring. We do have a quorum.
All right. And we will now move on to item number 2, the pledge of allegiance.
I signed an exemption.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice.
We will now on to item number 3, approval of minutes. Right. I'll second. Okay.
Susan motion and Aaron second.
Yep. Minutes are approved. So, oh, sorry. All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved again. And we'll move on to item number 4, general public comment. I have 4 public comments. So let's see, the first will be Head Day. If you could the podium, I guess, or
Right there.
oh, okay. I was trying to
Yeah.
help testing.
Yeah. Yeah, from the people online. So
It might be better if I just do it like this. I don't know.
people online.
Hello.
Yeah, the online people.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just had a question. More than anything about evacuation plan, in case of a wildfire. And I am assuming that it goes down 395 or whatever it's called these days. But just on any given day, if you go down there during, when people are taking their kids to school or going to work, you can't get down there. And I'm concerned about that. And they're saying, and what I'm understanding, and I don't have anything recent on it, but was there's more construction coming. And that's concerning to me. How do you escape, for lack of a better word? Anyway, that was my question, and if there was any comments on that, thank you.
I'll give you a quick response. Fortunately, recently Scott and I got to participate. I'm Aaron Jennings, Vice Chair. We recently got to participate in helping kind of rezone the evacuation plan. But what really triggered it was they really zoomed in down to block by block status. So if there is an emergency that occurs, whether it be fire or even an active shooter situation, anything like that, they can actually just call the people in a certain block radius of the situation and have them evacuated without alerting the whole entire Northwest. So it will alleviate traffic that way.
That would be helpful.
The action was, I think, is a perfect idea of how to implement, including our increased density that we have here. It's really going to help alleviate those kind of issues. They can stage section by section as things progress, get people out as they need.
Okay, thank you. Do you have to be signed up for that? Or
You can talk about that more during the.
that's actual. I can address it.
So, okay.
Item on investigation.
People talking about it on number 8. So that's evacuation. Thank you.
All right. We will move on to the.
Oh, I was going to say more.
Yeah. We'll move on to the next public comment from Tammy Holt Still.
Sorry.
Candidate Tammy Holt Still for Washoe County District 5 Commissioner. I am wanting to talk about the fact that on March 19th, Prado is coming back again to the for the city of Reno. That's a large development on Lemon Drive, not too far away from the Washoe County sewer plant. Every resident who is affected by this type of traffic and population and warehouses needs to be there. It's at, I'm gonna say 5 o'clock, 5 to 6 at the Lemon Valley Elementary School. We need everybody there. We stopped them once. We can stop them again. They didn't meet the master plan last time. It hasn't changed. The master plan hasn't changed, nor has the situation in Lemon Valley. So we can do it again. We just have to work together. Thank you.
And what date did you?
March 19th.
March 19th.
Which would be a waste.
Coming Thursday. Sorry. Week from Thursday. A week from Thursday.
We will move on to the next public comment. Catherine Yarte.
Oh, that's good. I don't have much either. So that's great.
Good evening, Catherine Yarte. For the record, I am also a candidate for Washoe County Commission in District 5. I think I've spoken with most of you already, so I will keep this brief. I just wanted to share that I do have a couple of events coming up. One on March 22nd at Dolce Cafe in Mayberry Landing from noon to 3. And then on March 28th, we'll actually be at the Cold Springs Family Center. We'll have a horse-drawn wagon for the family and the kids to take pictures. So we'll have a free barbecue. From 10 to 1, and that is Saturday, March 28th. And you're welcome to come. There's not going to be any speeches or anything like that. I just want to get to know the community, what's important to you, and get to know everybody. So those are the two big things I have coming up. There's also a regional fire board meeting also on March 19th, unfortunately, down at North Dakota Public Health, where they're talking about the regionalization of the fire departments, combining all of them. So that will also be very interesting for those of us that are in areas that are highly prone to fire like us. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we will now move on to the next public comment. Rob Pierce.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rob Pierce. I'm also running for County Commissioner District 5. There's a bunch of us here. I moved out into the North Valleys in 1991. We built a house, moved in actually in 92. We raised a family out here. I have been involved with things of the North Valleys ever since. 2019, I sat on the CAP and started my career in terms of volunteering to try to help you guys. From there, I went into Board of Adjustments and the Planning Commission. Before I knew it, I was on 5 different boards, 2 for the airport. So I got a little bit of experience going on for the North Valleys, but my big thing is controlled growth. We got to get our infrastructure fixed. We got to take care of public safety, fire, and police, and we got to make it safe. I am one for, if I get elected, I will make sure that you guys get your power back for development. You guys will get to have a say, because I think that's wrong that it's been taken away from you. And so I will do everything I can to help you guys. You guys should be the first defense for these developments coming in out here. You guys, that's how it was when I was there, and I think that's the way it should be going forward. So anyways, my website is robpierceforcommissioner.com, and I hope I can get you guys support. That's one. Number 2, I'm also the president of the Homeowners Association for Silver Knolls. Next Monday at 6:30 in our firehouse, we're going to be having a couple of professionals come and speak to us about data centers. And you're all invited if you guys would like to come. These people run the data from Cominium or something like that. It's a big organization where they bring in speakers from all over the place. They're your experts when it comes to data centers. They'll tell you the pros and cons, what's coming to town. They're planning. And anyways, it's going to be a very informative meeting. So hopefully you all can come to that. See you guys next Monday.
Thank you. We will now move on to item number, well, assuming nobody else has public comments. We will move on to item number 5, Commissioner Cap Chair News and Announcements. I have no new announcements to make, other than, let's see. Okay, so let's see, for item number 8, Swift Exit Evacuation Study Plan, Kelly is not able to be here, but we will still move on to that item eventually. And then, let's see, at the next meeting, we are having a gentleman give information about the parks. And then a Dr. Amy Payson will also be joining in on giving a presentation about structured discussions of how to conduct the difference between discussions and debates to interact with them. So, but other than that, I don't think we have anything else. So we will move on now to item number 6, public safety updates.
Guess I get to be the only one. Good evening, for the record, James Solero, Turkey Mouse Fire Battalion Chief. Just a quick update on our website. This information that I'm gonna give you is available, but we're looking at January of 2026 for the call statistics. For that month, we had 467 incidents in the North Valleys. Of that, 347 of them were medical emergencies. We only had 19 fires. A lot of those were controlled burns on days that it was not an open burning day, or I think we might have had one true structure fire out of that 19. So the only other thing we have to ask is with the time change over the weekend, hope everybody got out, changed the batteries in their smoke detectors. It's a good time to remember to do that. And other than that, that is all I have to report. Thank you.
Any comments? No. All right, no comments. So I guess that is it for the public safety updates. We will now move on to item number 7, Fire Adapted Nevada, also known as FAN.
Hi, Brett Taylor, Louis Community Coordinator from Truckee Meadows Fire. Normally, this presentation, at least the way we've done it the past couple of cabs, has been from my counterpart at the state, which is Kelly Nevels. She's the Fire Adapted Nevada coordinator. She's wanted to come talk to the cabs and kind of give you a little synopsis on what Fire Adapted Nevada is and kind of what it can do for you, how we interact with it. She's in Eastern Nevada because she has to worry about the whole state. So because we're cooperative with them, I'm giving her a presentation. So some of this I might just ramble through it, but for the most part, I think I used to work for the state, so I can muddle through her presentation. So really, and I'll have a little extra piece on the Truckee Meadows side of that at the end. But really, who's here has heard of FAN or Fire Adapted Nevada? Just a couple. Yeah, it's kind of a small organization. It's funded through those 4 agencies. The Living with Fire, has anybody heard of that? A few more, cool. So that's the University Extension program that kind of informs us and provides all of our nice public facing documentation for what is good to do with wildfire, how we live with wildfire. They produce all the good public education materials. And so that's they are actually funded through BLM and Forest Service and the state. So really the main funding agencies, main parts of FAN are BLM, Forest Service, and NDF, that Division of Forestry. So those 3 entities kind of make up the bulk of the FAN program. And that is kind of supplemented by all of us. Because FAN is really, it's a framework to bring together communities and cities, counties, townships in order to tell us how to interact with fire as a state, but down to the smallest level, down to the homeowner level. So all those areas in between, and really it's more of a framework of how we build coalition to address the fire problem in Nevada. Okay. So they've broken out into two different things, and this is actually three different things, but the way we recognize it in FAN is obviously the FAN is that partnership that gives everybody the kind of the end state, how we become more fire adapted, and they build that with the fire adapted community. Kind of the facts are a thing that's across the nation. It's a nationwide recognition program. Doesn't have as much as Firewise, which I'll get into in a little bit, but the FACT program is, and again, it's basically, it's a really nice graphic. I don't think it's in this presentation, but it's a really nice graphic where it's a wheel hub of every single consideration that we can have as a community about with which fire can impact every single consideration. So if it's homeowner property values, if it's fire safety, if it's evacuation or egress, if it's beautification, like there's all these considerations, and the FACT program addresses all of those and gets you to consider how fire adaptation will, really harden you, make you more resistant to all of those potential changes that one fire can have. So that's why they built the Fire Adapted Community Program, and then it's gone a little further with Firewise, which I'll get to in a little bit. Next one. So the big change that we've all seen, the Smokey Bear is up next to Mickey Mouse is the most popular icon. The Lorax is popular only because of Dr. Seuss books, but really these two characters have addressed the fire problem in a very different way. We've had something called the Smokey Bear effect, which has made it so we stop. You can prevent more forest fires, and we've prevented them out of existence in a lot of places that they've actually been required for the forest and fire ecology to continue. Where a lot of our landscapes have adapted through fire for millennia, we've started putting them out really, really well for the last 70, 80 years. And now we're into a point where we have massive amounts of fuel buildup. So that's kind of we've gone a little bit too far one way. The Lorax, and in the preparedness side of it, is more being a good steward of that environment, is doing incremental actions to simulate what would be good ecology and not turning it into a different kind of problem, a different fire trap problem. So a little bit more of a management side rather than a prevention side. And the preparedness, we'll get into a little more of that. And like I said, that Smokey Bear effect, really it's a forest health problem at this point. Our native Nevada ecosystems, especially on the Sierra front, up in the ponderosa pine forest, are incredibly fire adapted. The trees themselves have big platy bark to be able to be burned and survive, while everything else in the understory is consumed. And so when we see these controlled burns, what those are trying to do is simulate the fuel removal under a normal low intensity fire. Now, because we put those out for 40 years, that same fire, it just destroys it. It comes through with a very hot canopy replacing fire, which is obviously not good for ecology, not good for community, not good for the landscape itself. Is literally nukes it, and then we can't actually grow anything afterwards for a long time. It resets the landscape, so we don't want that. And diving in further into the Lorax side of things, we just need to be good stewards of it. When we set up a forest, and we have, obviously you can see how many forests we have, there's too much space to manage. From no one person, no one entity can manage everything for infinite timescales. What we're trying to do through this preparedness is to identify the most important places of our ecosystem, the areas around our community, the areas that have the most value from a lot of different aspects, from cultural value, community value to financial value with like merchantable lumber and those things. But we address what are the most important things, and then we try to set up those parcels and those areas on a prescriptive timescale that constantly addresses the issue of fire into as long as we can, as long as there's funding allowed, as long as all the different tools we have at our disposal. So there's these two concepts that we really, this idea of risk, and it's something that I've tried to really dive into with our county, is we kind of perceive these things differently. We have a risk, we consider a risk. So if we're standing out in the tarmac, center of Reno State Airport, we have zero risk of wildfire. If we go up to, up above Peavine or up, top of Peavine, we have massive risk of wildfire. Like that risk obviously increases or decreases depending on where you are and the situation around you. It increases or decreases during the time of year. The threat is, it's that the other half of the equation is I might be, if I'm Eastern Nevada, if I'm over there in the Pine Nuts and a lightning storm, there's a pretty high likelihood that there's a fire going to start near me. If I'm sitting on Reno State Airport, there's not a threat that I have for wildfire. It's that the potential that a fire starts versus not. It's that potential loss also, that that risk. I'm not gonna gamble my property, my house, even if there's a small risk that I have, a fire near my property. If I'm kind of a low risk, and maybe, but if there's a high threat that I lose it, if there's a potential I lose my entire property, that's not really something I want to gamble with. So risk versus loss is that equation that we kind of have to all consider on our own personal level. And that's my additional plea in this slide, is that we all take a little bit of accountability in understanding what is my individual risk. What just understanding at my property at this time of year, or even peak fire season time of year, how would my property fare through wildfire? Do I know what that looks like? Can I kind of game out if a fire starts upwind of me in the sagebrush to the southwest, because that's what's upwind? What is that going to look like when it gets to my house? Trying to understand that, or find the resources to understand that, call the fire department so we can help you assess that risk. Because if we address that, then we don't have a problem with wildfire anymore. We address them, we mitigate the potential loss, then we fix the problem, which is why I'm gainfully employed, because people don't really do that. So, and together when it's kind of like from the prevention side to the preparedness side, we can fix the problem. We can get ourselves into a fire adapted Nevada state. So there's these reasons that we just have more and more issues with wildfire. We've got the obviously higher temperatures. We're getting winter precipitation. We see that in eastern Nevada. That's mostly causing large bumper grass crops, multiple layers of cheatgrass that drive fires really big, really fast, and wind driven, and kind of run into really anything in their path because we can't catch them. They're going at 30, 40 miles an hour, and we're not going to be able to put those out. Prolonged drought, we don't have as much issue with, but we're very variable on those winters. So, we have these 5-6 years of lots of water, and then 5-6 years of no water. Obviously, that sets us up for, a really hard time. Low humidities are constant during the winter time or the summertime, because that's, our fire season. Zephyr winds are those downslope winds. We get those like clockwork every afternoon during the summertime. And then obviously our expansion, we just talked about it, our expansion out into these areas that were predominantly like native vegetation, sagebrush, decadent sagebrush, bitterbrush that we've been putting fire out for so long. That obviously brings in additional risk when you're building out into the wildland interface. Just a couple, these are lessons learned that we found through the Palisades fire, through the local ones. We have like the Cullen Ranch, Washoe Drive, Little Valley. All of these fires have taught, they're all lessons, but for the most part, they go unnoticed. And it's most of that property loss happens within that first 5 feet. It's because embers fly in, land right in the combustible vegetation, mulch, the gutters, up into the attic. Embers literally get into the attic vents and then catch your attic on fire. And so that most of that property loss is driven by flying embers coming in, but wafted by the wind and or convective heat, and then that is what starts a fire next to your house. Fire could be nowhere near where your property is, but it takes one ember to land in a really bad spot that now you've got a fully involved house. And in that fire scenario, we can't address it. We can't we're not going to put out the single house fire when we've got area ignition around us. We're trying to mitigate those property losses, not put out an individual house. And that's not a very good thing to say, but there's not the case that we have a fire engine to put in everybody's front yard. Fortunately. Like I said, you cannot outrun it. We're talking about evacuation. We're more doing that to lessen the impacts of people being in the fire area, because it's still a dangerous spot. We've got a lot of big fire trucks, sometimes dozers. There's retardant planes and helicopters flying over. It's a really hectic, dynamic situation. Even in a center of a city where there's probably not a lot of risk of the fire, we still want to get people out of there. And so when we're talking about getting out, evacuating large numbers of people out of these places, if we are experiencing a really fast moving, wind driven fire, it can be very quickly. And times like the Palisades fire, people were literally jumping out of their cars and running because they couldn't clear the traffic fast enough. So don't try to outrun it. That's why the preparedness thing is important. So we can go ahead. This video. I believe this is the Collin Ranch fire up on top of Reno here, taken by a firefighter. It's going to be a little bit less gloomy, but you can kind of see what that environment looks like in the middle of the night. Just embers going everywhere, incredibly dark. I mean, just the smoke alone is probably going to put most people on all fours, unless you have like a face shield. And so just putting your mind in this situation, if you're a member, just the general public that's going to have to try to deal with that and get out, like I don't know which way is which in that situation. So under stress, under adrenaline, like probably the chances of us figuring that out it's going to be pretty hard. So consider that. This is a really good video. It might be kind of loud, but. So this is in Colorado. You can see a little bit of smoke by the front of the deck there. That's a bit of bark mulch that they used within their 5 feet. Fortunately, they had a fire engine. Well, not maybe fortunately, I don't know. They had a fire engine in their front yard. Happenly, and the fires, you can see it. It's a couple miles away. They blast that little ember underneath the deck with their front monitor, and now they're like, oh well. You see a little smoke wisping up through, so they're gonna use their garden hose. See another guy come up with a water bottle, which I guess is your own way to do it. And so it's an entire engine crew that's just devoted to put out that one little ember. And then a fire extinguisher, more hoses. Another ripping up the deck, trying to get at that little duffer. Press this here, so here, trying to fix it.
No.
So that column on the right, well, those columns are built hollow. And so fire got established in the column, and then it went up the column, and now it's in the attic. The house is right off because of that one ember in the bark mulch within 5 feet. And
use bark.
That's amazing.
we use bark and consider that, the fire is really far away, but that could be any situation that you have in your neighborhood. It could be someone's car backfires, or someone's, the neighbor has a barbecue. It's literally anything could cause this to your house. And
Do building codes address anything in this?
A bit, the Ruby code is pretty good, but Colorado's, that depth to me looks like it met code. So, yeah, code can only get you so far. That's why that's half the equation, the defensible space piece, which I'll probably won't get into as much, but that's a lot of this literature. That's the other half. So here's a couple pictures of what not to do, and then what we prefer to see. Both look great, I guess, depends on the eye of the beholder, but the one on the left is a fire trap, because that bark mulch is a perfect carrier into the arborvitae, which then connect right up into the eaves, and that's an immediate home loss if you get one. All right, nice and hardened. There's no chance that low succulent vegetation catches fire against the rock. The rock siding, like that's not going to affect anything. So consider that. Some myths that people have: if your house has a steel roof or it's made of metal structure, it won't burn. It obviously will. This was, I think, I want to say it's local, but I can't remember which fire. Maybe Washoe Drive fire. Go next. There's your metal roof, stucco siding. Probably the house fared pretty well, but because that tree was a little close, it scorched into the rafters that connect the metal to the roof, and then now that fire is extended into the house and probably gutted that entire house. So, and at that point, it's going to be an entire, almost rebuild because of just the damage from inside of the house. You're on a golf course, you're not safe. Obviously, it's a really nice fuel break, but if you don't address that initial 5 feet to 30 feet from your home, this could happen. And then, we have our communities that kind of look a lot like this, the really built out ones that have a lot of that old vegetation in it. This is Napa. And they probably didn't think they were in a high fire danger, but there's the events like a conflagration fire that caused this disruption. It's wind driven, and you can see it's not the trees and the brush catching fire. It's gonna, once one house goes and another property is within less than 50 feet is what they found, then you're at a much higher chance of a conflagration attic to attic driven fire. So it doesn't take a lot of vegetation around you, a wildland area, to drive a wildfire. It can be like this, which is house to house ignition. And so this is how the FAN program can kind of start to address these things. Okay, it's a very small program, with a really big problem. The ones that are relevant to you, I'd say those education outreach materials, project management a little bit. They kind of delegate that a lot to the fire district to help out with those smaller community-based projects. The grant opportunities is a big one, but those kind of have to come through. Basically, they want somebody to manage that grant, and it's usually the fire district. That's why we kind of make it a one-stop shop, where if you've got a proposal for your community, you come to me, and I will go find the money to make that problem solved. I'll try to fix that fuels problem, either with our staff or the contractors, some way to do that. And then the last one, which I'll talk about later, is the CWPPs, which Community Wildfire Protection Plans, or County Wildfire Protection Plans. The acronym still works. And those are, I'll just talk about right now. Those plans, Washoe County's plan is 20 years old. That's part of the tasking they gave me, is to fix that, and that's what we're working on as we speak. And the whole process to completion should be done in about the fall. But that plan, basically, it analyzes risk on a county-wide scale. We drill down to where the biggest problem areas are in the county from a scientific risk management based perspective. Like, we really use all the tools at our disposal. We bring in all the cooperators that could have a say in this plan, including the public, and then we build projects and prescriptions to address all of those problems, or as much as we can. So basically, it gives us a 5-year plan. We want to correct fuels here, 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 here. These are the funding sources to do it. These are the prescriptions that we'll use. It's a kind of a playbook on how we go about the next 5 years. And then we'll have to do another one after 5 years. But we'll go into that in more detail. Firewise, as I mentioned, is the recognized portion of fire adapted communities. We want to push people towards Firewise. Rob is representative of Silver Knolls, which is the local Firewise community for North Valleys. Can't think of any others that are up here, but basically it's a program through NFPA that allows your community, which can be as little as 8 people, eight homes, and as many as 2,500, to basically build your own little 3-year action plan. You get a risk assessment of your properties, and then you record 1 hour of work per year per home. And that could be you in the yard for an hour. That could be $30 to go to the dump. That counts as about the cost of a volunteer hour. And you record those things. They go to me, and then I report that to the fan coordinator, Kelly, and you get recognized as a Firewise community. It's really very simple. And what's better now is that insurance companies are starting to look at that as kind of the benchmark of who should be insured, or how do we address this, this insurance crisis. If there's people that are proactively fixing their fire risk through this nationally recognized program, they're more likely to get reductions or at least non-renewals, not non-renewed. Like that's the benefit to it. So if it's something that you're interested in, there's cards out here. I would be kind of your steward into getting your community set up as Firewise. We do your risk assessments, and we kind of get the reporting and form set up for you to be that recognized Firewise site.
Excellent.
There's a little bit more about it. That's what that initial site looks like. And again, you can research this on your own, but it's NFPA. You search NFPA Firewise, you come up to this, and you can just reach out to me, and we'll get you working on working towards it. Next. The only thing that I'll have to add into this presentation is the kind of the plea that I have on top of Kelly's, like, get involved, is trying to work towards the solution as a community, like kind of like Silver Knolls is doing. Because what we found is you could do everything right on your parcel. You can do every mitigation I've recommended that these publications have, and you still have potential to lose your house, because if your neighbor doesn't address their issue, and their home is your emission source. So really what we want to see is that defensible space and those rings overlap each other, and your community becomes a hardened group of homes rather than just one individual home. Now that's like hard to hear, because it's you might not like your neighbors, and you might not want to be the community organizer, but really we know that from all of our past fires and disasters, that's what's caused the most issue, is there's not a combined group of people that are addressing fuels and addressing defensible space. Because it's not going to be, I guarantee it's not going to be the federal government that's going to fix it on the hillside. And that's what people look. They look over the fence and they're like, what about the weeds over there? It's like, well, did you address the problem on your property first? And then we can work on your neighbor's property. And there's all kinds of codes and ordinance that we can talk about, with what the fire district and what, the county can try to enforce. But beyond that, like, we got to start with yours. And the first part is just assessing your own risk, and figuring out what needs to change with that, so you mitigate it. And then we can talk about the neighbors and, whether that's the federal government, state, whoever. So that's the action plan, I guess, the point I have for you. And anything more than that's just questions if you have.
Do we answer your question? Does anybody have any questions they would like to?
Swift exit we can talk about, because
I don't need that. So I think that I've made some changes at my house, but it's been a while since Kelly's come out and looked.
Yeah.
And I sent it up.
Absolutely.
Could you state your name, sir?
Oh, sorry, Rob Pierce for the record.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just card you can show you how it actually. So
In the cards you were able to.
right there. Yep. All that publications, all free to taking. It's fantastic stuff. So
I have a definitely.
What's your name, sir?
Scott Finley. Thank you so much for doing this presentation and the fire adapted concept, that's fantastic.
Yes.
That's great. I've actually was talking to some people about something like that. I think it's great to see that there already is a proof of concept of something out there like that. So it seems one of the things is that one of the biggest risks is strictly the embers that could be coming from miles away and hitting people's homes. So the best way to stop a fire in that sense would be to fire harden your home. So
The stat I didn't use, 85% of home loss is from embers, not some flaming wall of fire. That's not the case. That's what people get scared of, when they see videos, but it's in the embers that are more likely to affect your home. Kind of embers, I guess.
I just want to make a comment.
State your name too, sir.
My name is Ted Day, and about, I think it was 3 years ago, I had a new roof put in my home. And one of the things that I had 3 different bids on it, and they all emphasized venting the roof. And man, I want to tell you, I got a vented roof right now, and I'm wondering about it. And they said that was part of the building code.
Yeah. So, again, I won't get too into the weeds because I'm a nerd about Louis code and the venting thing. If vents are done correctly, because your house needs to breathe, if your vents are done correctly with the fine mesh, doesn't allow embers to get in, or it will also allow very big of embers. There's a couple different kinds of ember-proof vents that actually are they expand when they're heated up, and so they actually include embers from getting in. But also what worked just fine is anything more than about an 1/8 inch screening or less is fine enough mesh that it will keep embers out. The bigger embers that we know are the most destructive. What the code change that happened not that long ago between 2018 and now, we're under the 2024 code. The 2018 code had 1/4 inch screens on most homes. And so if your home is really 2024, you could potentially have 1/4 inch screens in your attic. I would say that's a fantastic thing to go do next time you walk around your house. Look at your screens and see if they look like a 1/4 inch or something like that. And that would be a really quick, cheap mitigation action that you can take. Is just get some 1/8 inch screening from Home Depot and then cut it into strips and put it over those vent holes in your attic. Fantastic way to fix that. And you don't have to go down the hundreds of, thousands of dollars. That could be to either do member-proof vents or a soffit is the other way to fix that. So,
What about crawl space?
equally, I would say equally as important, but still important. Usually because the crawl space just goes down into dirt. And so there's less flammable stuff that it can go down there. It's really because that's where they plant the bushes. So if the bushes are on fire right outside the crawl space vent, and that's an access point into the wall. Because usually that vent hole is not hardened against fire and embers. If the fire gets pulled into the crawl space, then your wall's on fire. So it's a little bit different type of mitigation. I'd say the vent isn't as important, but the defensible space around that vent more important.
Any more questions?
I have one more. I was at a meeting and it was a Lemon Valley resident. He was saying.
State your name.
Oh, my name is Susan Van Ness. I apologize. And he was concerned about the fire station in Lemon Valley off Lemon Valley Road, or where it is. He's lived out here for years. And now that's closed. There's volunteer out at Red Rock. We do have one that is under the supervision of Reno, which we're gonna keep you guys I'm fighting with that. There's a lot coming up and there's some behind the scenes, but never. Are they going to open another Lemon Valley one out there, or we're sitting there putting in fire hydrants in our area on Britain subdivision?
I don't have any information about that. I don't know if Chief Solera would have any. Usually they don't tell us those things. The station at Lemon, it actually has the wildland crews at. They're usually not there full time, but if there's a wildland fire, those are the guys that go, so they're a little bit closer.
That's where they will be. That's what he was saying. Where's our Truckee Meadows guys?
That's the half the crew's there, the other half is in Bird Eye. And so it's like, 20-ish,
Melissa Wiseman. Is the wildland crew allowed to come and put fires out in the neighborhood?
Absolutely. They're not going to be going interior in a house, but if we have a wildland fire.
But no, you're not allowed to help do
We can't do like.
residential mediation.
We can't do structure fires.
No, they're not allowed to.
We're not the 24-hour call for wildfire.
That's what he was saying. Thank you for making.
Yes, that's very clear.
So even though they're there, they're like.
It's not serving the purpose of an ISO fire station that like insurance looks at. That's the, I guess that's the problem with it. It's not a 24-hour on-call structure fire department.
And they do not respond to 911 calls.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's what you were saying at the last meeting. Okay.
Yes.
Is there still mutual aid between Reno and TMCC?
Very good.
So then Lemon Valley is covered by Station 9 right here.
Yep.
And you guys up front?
Yep.
Okay. I was volunteer in London. So.
Yep.
Thank you.
Still covered.
Questions? Okay, well, let's look at.
I'll more with Swift Exit. So like, if you have any more questions there, because I'm helping with that process.
Awesome, thank you so much for that. All right, we will now. We will move on to item number 8, Swift Exit Evacuation Study Plan. And Kelly was supposed to be presenting on that, but for whatever reasons she is unable to attend and give the presentation. I guess we could do any public comments you guys have, but I'm not sure how much we ourselves would be able to answer anything. And so.
Brett can also have.
Oh, right. Okay, and here, I'll just read off the item description. So Washoe County's emergency management will provide updates on the evacuation study plan for the area. And yeah, so does anybody have any questions or anything? And state your name.
My name's Ted Day, and on that, you mentioned, I believe, that they call individual areas for alerts. How do we get on that, and how do we know we're on that?
So yeah, I don't know if anybody wants to hear online, but so Brett Taylor, Blue Coordinator with Truck Notice Fire. So the best way is the Smart 911 system that goes through Rave, and that's if you just search Washoe County Emergency Management, they'll have a online link. It's very, very clear. It's like register for alerts, like wireless alert system. It's basically everything that the county sends people through is through that software. And so if you follow those links and you sign up your property, your cell phone, your email, all of that is now on their kind of direct line. There's 2 different ways that you'll get informed of emergencies. One is through that software, through that system, and your property is registered to receive alerts because they know where you live. That's also a really good way to communicate your issues if you have medical issues, if you have problems with durable medical equipment inside, if you there's problems with your house, that you have to make different access. Basically, we get more information from you registering through that. But and so that's the way that you're however you want us to contact you, you'll get notified of an emergency in your area. The other way, which is the kind of the more common way that we all know about, is the reverse 911 system. That goes either to landlines in a geographic area or it goes to the cell towers. So that's where it doesn't really do well at discriminating against say the block here, we needed people to evacuate. Everybody from that cell tower will get some sort of notification. And it'll be up to the person who gets that reverse 911 to say, okay, I'm in that area or not. And so, but the other system, the one that you register for, that's actually specific to your property. You're within that parcel, that block that's being evacuated or has some concern with it. That's how you get notified directly that this is happening in your area. Here's the things we're telling you to do to evacuate or shelter in place, whatever that notice may be. Does that make sense?
And that was called
Smart 911. Yep. Just go to the Washoe County EM website. You'll get all the links to go in through there. Okay. Recommend everybody do that.
Good, smart 911.
I'll say one more thing on the smart or the evacuation study thing. So I'm helping the county on the Truckee Meadows representative through that process. Basically where that program is at right now, they got a grant to do an evacuation study. Where it's at right now is to, we have selected a vendor to build our evacuation plan, our evacuation polygons, all of those. We're dividing the entire county, everywhere that could be evacuated that has population in it, from Carson City to Oregon border. All of those places are going to be broken out, and so we can select areas independently to evacuate or to notify based on whatever emergency it is. Because it's not just fire; it can be anything. And so that right now we have a perimeter map. They are actually a vendor to another notification software that we use to help us coordinate evacuations from the responder side, public notification side. So perimeter is also a analysis software that we are using to take all of those zones that we're putting in there between Reno Fire, Truckee Meadows, Sparks, Indian Colony, all of those responders. We're breaking out those zones, and then each one gets its own analysis of time to evacuate, because we can look at traffic patterns, we can look at potential uptake for people to evacuate. So we can see if we're evacuating this zone, and this zone because of the wildfire, we can see that's going to take, that might take 3 hours to evacuate all of those people. That way we can better pre-plan and understand our choke points as we move evacuations, and we do things like the Davis fire. We saw immediate choke points on all of that. Probably not going to be a great way to mitigate those, but this kind of preparedness study allows us to see those ahead of time and try to address those. And so the other vendor that Washoe County has assigned to this is a firm from back east that will do all of those analyses and then give us our recommendations on how we should harden our communities to be able to evacuate better, so we can move those people faster than what traditionally we've been able to do in the past. Yes.
How is a company back east?
State your name, please.
Oh, sorry, Tammy hold still for the record. How is a company back east gonna be able to recommend something without being here and actually seeing what our traffic is like?
I don't think they're not staying back east. They actually come out here and do their own on the ground analysis. That's the vendor. They do all kinds of emergency recommendations, emergency preparedness recommendations. That's their whole business. Don't know much more about them, other than that's the one that they've selected to try to get our analysis to the forefront, to basically fix our problem.
So, Catherine Yarte for the record. I have two things, one question and one kind of comment. For the community, the evacuation study community input is open until March 30th. So if you haven't done it, I highly recommend you go to the Washoe County website and fill it out. It takes about 10 minutes, but you can share your concerns for your specific areas. To that point, for me, one of the things we've experienced with every single fire and every single evacuation is evacuating livestock is never done with any sort of organization. If we try to go in with people that are experienced and trained to handle livestock to order to make your guys' life easier, we're always turned away. And so then, like with the Davis fire, we're trying to evacuate a hospital, and the veterinarians were turned away from their hospital and accessing it while we had patients on fluids. So those are concerns that I brought up in the study, but I just kind of want that elsewhere on the record that it would be nice if that's something, because we're such an agriculturally focused region, that there was some concern brought in for including livestock, large animal training, either training for firefighters or at least allowing those with training who can be certified as first, like, to be allowed to get into those spaces before it's a crisis, because then you end up with people panicking and letting their animals loose. We've seen this in previous fires in Washoe Valley where you have horses running down the road in front of a fire truck because people are panicking, letting their animals loose. So I included that in mine, so that's why it's two-part. But for everybody here, fill it out, share your experiences. It's a big part of how we can make sure that your individual concerns for your individual areas are included in the study. And so that's open until March 30th, according to their website. It's very easy to find. You can search it as just put Swift Exit Washoe Valley or Washoe County, and they'll
Say it slowly, because I'm recording it and I'll try to get it.
Sorry. So it's on the Washoe County website. I just Google it as Swift Exit Washoe County
Okay.
and brought it up on Google. The actual website is a little tricky to spell out. So those are kind of my two things.
And actually Saturday, I trained at a refresher training for LRTC. They're not associated with emergency evacuation,
Right.
but they are one of those force multipliers that Washoe County Animal Control can help bring in more people that have the equipment and skills to evacuate those animals. So, but that, yeah, they can bring it up. It's important.
Thank you so much.
Gotta say, he's working his butt
Thank you.
The best.
Light up his speech.
All right, we will now move on to item number 9, neighborhood development and other engagement opportunities.
It's this one. Save all of it. Okay. What's it?
So to check out the neighborhood development hub, and I usually go to connect with your commissioner page. Down at the bottom of the page, they have all kinds of links down here. And you have your CAB link there, but you have the neighborhood development hub over here. And if you click on that, it will take you to the upcoming projects. And they're listed over here at the side. That's my woman panel. So you can click on those to see which one you want to attend. And then if you want to see what's going on with something in your neighborhood that you were wondering what was going on and it's not listed at the site anymore, you click on where it says the Washoe County applications. You can go over to the site over here for District 5. And this will give you all of the applications and you can click into there and see what's going on with them. Or what's going on with anything you're looking for. So let's go ahead and add them. So if you would like to sign up to get a bunch of this delivered to your email box, you can also do that here with Receive District News and other topics. And then if you wanted to, for like the commissioner agendas for the BCC, if you wanted to do an e-comment, you can do that in there as well. So this page has a whole bunch of links to it if you would like. And then, and if you want after the meeting and would like to get signed up, I can go ahead and leave this up on my screen and then I can help you sign up. Sure.
Are you able to track anything, people will register on that? See.
No, I haven't seen where I have worked to do that, so I'm sure somebody can.
Oh.
I just am not sure how to. Like that.
All right. Thank you so much for that information, Sally. We will now move on to item number 10, CAB member commissioner announcements requests. Does anybody have a?
I do. Susan Van Ness. I talked to Commissioner Jean Herman today, and she apologizes for not being here. However, tomorrow is a full day, and we were joking about maybe 15 hours or so when all the people get done commenting, because it's controversial and a heavy-duty subject. And she said she's sorry, thinking about all of us. And she needs to get to bed early, so she doesn't fall asleep during the 15-hour meeting. We'll be watching it on and see what they're talking about. So that's what we are making.
Okay. Does anybody else have any? No? Alright, so just to actually, there was something I missed. What's that? So there is a regional fire services study, a community input session that is coming up. I'll read it off verbatim so you get all the information. So Washoe County, the city of Reno and Sparks, and fire and EMS partners are conducting a regional fire services study required by Nevada Senate Bill 319 to evaluate how fire and EMS services are delivered across the region. The public is invited to attend an information and input session on Thursday, March 19th at 6 p.m. at the Northern Nevada Public Health Conference Room A/B, located at 1001 East 9th Street, Building B, Reno, Nevada. During the session, the study team will introduce the project, explain the study process and timeline, and provide an opportunity for community members to share initial input on fire and EMS services in our region. Additional opportunities to provide feedback will be available through an upcoming online engagement page and a community survey, with more details to be shared after the March 19th session. And so that is for the regional fire service study announcement. And then again, for anybody who was not here at the beginning, at the next meeting, we will have a presentation on the parks, and then we will also have a presentation by Dr. Amy Payson about structured deliberation. And yes, so thank you. So if nobody has anything else to say, we will now move on to item 11, general public comment. Does anybody have a public comment they would like to give? Seeing as nobody does, we will now move on to item number 12, adjournment.
I just want to say one thing. I would like to inform more people, and I'm gonna need some help, other than me just going door to door to door, telling them about this important cab meeting. I mean, we had an excellent presentation, and normally the sheriffs are here. And I think people are missing out in our community, but some people aren't on social media, and I don't know how to get a hold of everybody. We've got things that we want to talk about that we know about. For instance, my big thing is following this regionalization consolidation, where they will, it's not partisan, they will move these guys into Reno and be under the umbrella of Reno. And can you imagine if there's some odd Reno mayor or more out here, we will not get any services. So if anybody could help me think of ways that we can get more people here. I mean, I'll put my phone number out there, I'll put an email address, but just to help talk to people is what I'd like to say.
Okay, and then I'm sorry, is the meeting,
We're okay.
you're ready to adjourn, yes?
Yeah,
Can I I would like to comment?
Okay, we're supposed to adjourn. I mean,
She can make a public comment.
Okay.
So we've already closed it, but
yeah.
you're good.
Okay.
I thought that was on the fire evacuation thing that didn't happen. What, Melissa Wiseman, I was under the impression that we were also going to discuss today new building on Arkansas and Lemon Valley Drive. Did that?
That is not on the agenda. So
Okay,
the agenda is over there, and it has every item on that.
I'm sorry, I thought the agenda I looked at when I left had that on there. Am I allowed to address other issues today, or what
So
is the protocol?
In general public comment, you have 3 minutes to address whatever you would like to address. That's what we're doing here. 3 minutes.
I would like to talk about the awful interchange of Virginia Street turning on. Do you want me to get it there? Okay, so bullet points. All right, I would like to bring to attention At another citizen advisory meeting, I thought the NDOT people were here and they took into account my comment of the awful interchange coming up Virginia Street onto 395 North all times of day, and how it's not separated properly and it makes rude people and common people. And moving on to the next topic, we're talking about all kinds of development in this area, and a lot of it hasn't been followed through with beautification. Military Street and Lemon Drive is full of weeds and not conducive to the pride that I have in my community. And when I am hearing there's going to be other stoplights at the elementary school, and they're doing all kinds of changing to Lemon Drive, which, let's bring up Lemon Drive. Does anyone know what's going on there? Is RTC doing that? When is that? And why are we spending $808 million to fix a road to the exact same standard it is now, when we're gonna have semi trucks coming out to this airport because it's going commercial, right? I mean, so, hi. There was something else on my page if I still have time. Oh, that was, when is the meeting for the access? Is that the one that she's not here for because it's tomorrow? What could you clarify the meeting that our representative isn't here for tonight because she's busy preparing for tomorrow? Is that
Commissioner Herman.
Commissioner Herman? Is it here?
Are you shut with your public comment?
Sir, if you could answer any of those questions, that could be helpful.
So she just has a regular commission meeting tomorrow. It's going to be intense.
The 8 that she can come for, that's a different person, that's Kelly somebody, so that's not the. That's not
And
Commissioner.
Brett answered all of your questions for the Swift Exit. He gave you an overview of what was going on in the Swift Exit program.
Okay, I guess I'm at a different meeting than I thought I was because there is so many of them.
Yes.
Well, I just want to say, thank you for your public comment, and we need to hear more concerns like what you have, so please, and attend more of these meetings.
Even though there's nobody here to give answers.
Sorry.
It's good.
Alright, we will now move on to I'm assuming nobody has any more public comments? None, okay. Alright, we will now move on to item number 12, adjournment. Anybody would like to have a motion?
And it was on Facebook.
Motion.
And it said this meeting is tonight.
Anyone want a second? Daniel seconds. Alright, so all in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned.